Hello and welcome to the BMC Quick Course Series. My name is Frank Rhodes and I'm the Db2 Administrative Product Solution Architect based out of Austin, Texas. In this session, I will show you how to configure the sample project, single project, which was supplied when you downloaded the AMI DevOps plugin code. There are 3 prerequisites for this course. You need to have already downloaded the BMC AMI DevOps for Db2 code from the BMC support site. You must have completed the configuration of the AMI DevOps properties file, and you had to have defined the sample project supplied to Jenkins. So I will start by opening up the sample folder that was defined to Jenkins in the earlier course. Now I select Single Project as the project I will work on. I select the Configure button over on the left side of the browser. The sample project already has some of the build parameters specified for it. These are similar to the build parameters that we defined in the configuring of a simple project course. The job ID is used to support a unique identifier for every build performed. The supporting artifacts needed to support the running of the build will use this identifier. The member names created on the mainframe PDS datasets will also use this identifier. The sample project already has a number of the AMI DevOps plugin modules defined, but they are not yet configured. I will start by configuring the authentication module. I filled in the needed information to communicate with the mainframe and told the module where the properties file I configured earlier resides. The way this module is configured, my user ID and encrypted password will be used by every person that performs a build against this project. There is another quick course on how you can prompt for the RACF user ID and password of the person actually performing the build and pass that information on to this module at runtime. Here's a transmission module filled in. The DDL directory and file name prompted for in the build parameters for the project are supplied, along with the DDL PDS defined in the properties file. Please note that the DDL member is being defined as the job ID prompted for in the build parameters. So let's start configuring the schema change migration module. I will start by specifying the Db2 subsystem ID. I'm hard coding the SSID here, but this could have been something we prompted for via the build parameters or we had defined into our properties file. I'm also providing you examples of how you would have done this via a build parameter or as a variable from the properties file. I will remove those examples before I actually save this project definition. I also specify a work ID owner of DevOps and a work ID name of the job ID specified in the build parameters. So now I need to decide the type of comparison that I will perform. After I choose the comparison type, the dialog will prompt me for the fields that are mandatory for that type of compare. I select to compare the local catalog to the DDL file that I'm supplying. This will produce CDL or change definition language statements to make the schema definitions in the catalog look like the schema defined in the DDL file. Notice that with this particular comparison type, many of the fields in the dialog are not needed. You see that I supply the name of the DDL file we will compare the schema definition in the catalog against. This is the same file that I transferred up to the mainframe in the prior plugin module. There are a number of optional fields I can supply if I wanted to. By supplying these migrate profiles, I could run change rules against the object names to help them match up, or I could run change rules against the resulting comparison to control attributes or names of objects that are being referenced in the CDL. I will just supply the name of the CDL dataset and member, the work list dataset name and member, and the impact report dataset name and member name. Again, note that the dataset names are coming from the properties file and the member names are using the job ID from the build parameters. I now supply the dataset and member name that will hold the JCL to execute the work list. It is when this JCL is submitted that the requested changes to the schema definition in the catalog are actually made. There are a number of additional options available for use here. In the quick course on defining pipelines, I will provide some examples on how some of these fields could be used. Now we need to supply the job card that we're going to be using. You can see that my job card references variables from the properties file. Pound account number pound and pound lpar1 pound are both from the properties file. The build parameter variable job ID is represented by the $ curly bracket job underscore ID curly bracket. You will need to define your job card to meet your company's internal rules for JCL. The other areas shown here are seeded by the plugin based upon the selections you've made above. You do have the option to add additional component parameters if you like. These parameters will be part of the JCL stream that is built by the plugin module. I'm going to manually add the analysis ALUN parameter no work ID warn. This will keep analysis from giving me warning messages if another work ID is referencing an object that I have in this work ID. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not suggesting that you should add this parameter to your own plugin configuration. Here is an example of the JCL stream. Most of the JCL set statements are required and will be needed by the JCL procs that were distributed with the product. If your site needs any special load library concatenations, you can do so by modifying the job lib here. Or if your site has your load libraries already in the link list, you could simply remove the job lib here for the JCL's execution. Note that the job card is embedded into the JCL stream as well as the other input streams for the different Change Manager components. In the plugin module's advanced settings, you can tell the plugin the highest return code that should be treated as a successful run. Also, how many minutes that the job should be monitored before issuing a timeout failure. The output transmission module can be used to transfer multiple files down to the Jenkins server in a single execution of the plugin module. You need to tell the plugin module the dataset names on the mainframe that you're going to be downloading from, as well as the member name. It will then download these files to the directory path you have specified. I've specified the directory path of the Jenkins project workspace. If I were to have left this path blank, it would default to this project's workspace as well. The last plugin module that we're going to configure is the JCL execution plugin module. This module can submit JCL from a PDS on the mainframe or from a file on your client. It will then monitor the job running. The module will fail if the job's return code is larger than the value you have specified. You can also specify the timeout value for monitoring of the job. Thank you for watching the course. For any more information on any of the BMC mainframe products, please visit the URL shown here.